Welcome to the wonderful world of Magic the Gathering. Magic the Gathering, also known as MTG, is a card game that combines strategy, fantasy, and fun to create one of the most popular card games ever known. So sit back and relax because you are about to take a journey into Magic the Gathering. How to play Magic the Gathering. For complete beginners, the concise guide on how to play Magic the Gathering, including learning rules, strategies, and instructions of Magic the Gathering. Chapter 1. Introduction. Welcome to the brilliant universe of Magic the Gathering. Wizardry the Gathering, additionally known as MTG, is a game that joins system, dream, and amusing to make perhaps the most famous games ever known. So take it easy in light of the fact that you are going to bring an excursion into Magic the Gathering. In this guide, I'll show you the fundamentals of MTG, including how to construct a deck, utilizing mana, card types, and the sky is the limit from there. Chapter 2. The Cards. Wizardry is the same amount of an exchanging card assortment as it is a procedure game. Cards are classified in rarity, from least uncommon to most uncommon cards come. In like manner, extraordinary, uncommon, and mythic uncommon. You can likewise get a foil rendition of each card that makes the card marginally more significant. You can't play enchantment without having the cards. So clearly the initial step into wizardry is to get a few cards. You can acquire cards in various manners. A supporter pack contains 10 Lodge, 3 Remarkable, and 1 Uncommon or Mythic Uncommon card. An introduction pack contains a 60 card deck. I'll clarify why 60 later on. 2 sponsor packs, and a directions manual, which you won't require after this guide. A conflict pack contains 2 60-card decks so you can play with your companions in the event that they don't have a deck. There is likewise a guide on the best way to consolidate the 2 decks to make a solitary, all the more remarkable deck. A fat pack contains 9 promoter packs, 80 fundamental grounds, and 2 deck boxes, alongside a few different knickknacks. At last, a promoter box is essentially when you purchase the whole box of supporter packs from a store. It contains 36 sponsor packs. On the off chance that you are simply beginning with Magic, I propose purchasing an introduction pack. An introduction pack is actually what it seems like. It's a deck made for novices like you, and it comes at a genuinely modest cost. You can get these at your nearby comic or card store, or even at a retail chain. I've found, however, that it is less expensive to purchase cards at a comic store. Chapter 3. Constructed Deck. There are a couple of various approaches to play Magic the Gathering. However, for this guide, we will zero in on standard built play. Built implies that you have made a deck beforehand and carried it to any place you're playing. The deck should have at least 60 cards, and there is no maximum breaking point, albeit most players want to adhere to 60 cards. Standard is somewhat confounding from the start, particularly on the grounds that Magic is going through a change. In Magic, cards are delivered in squares. Each square has a story behind it, and the cards typically fit the story. Squares turn all through standard play, implying that once a square has been out for a specific measure of time, you can at this point don't play with the cards from that block in Norm. This may appear to be a misuse of cash. However, it keeps the game new, and you can, in any case, utilize those old cards in various styles of the game. The square pivot battle now. The old way is that 3 sets turn out in a year. Every one of the 3 joined are alluded to as the square, and 1 centered set turns out in the late spring. The center set is only something irregular that has nothing to do with the squares. The pivot goes this way. 3 sets come out to make block A. At that point, center A set comes out. Next, block B comes out, and center B set comes out. Presently, 2 blocks and 2 core sets are standard legitimate. When the main arrangement of square C comes out, block N and core A get pivoted out, and it cycles that way. Presently, if that wasn't sufficiently confounding, the pivot and squares are being changed. Starting in 2016, blocks will be just 2 sets, 1 major one and 1 minimal one. Likewise, there will be 3 blocks that are standard legitimate at a time. So pivot will be set A1, set A2, set B1, set B2, set C1, set C2. At the point when set D1 comes out, set A1 and A2 will pivot out. Additionally, there will presently don't be center sets. The GIF video above clarifies this turn quite well. Everything before the square is the old revolution. Chapter 4. Chapter 4. Mana. There are 5 distinct shades of mana in Magic: red, black, blue, white, and green. Mana is utilized to protect spells, charms, and animals that will battle for you and shield you against your adversary. Every one of these cards requires a specific number of mana to project. How would you get mana, you inquire? Mana is gotten by projecting cards called lands. There are 5 sorts of terrains, 1 for each mana shading: mountain, red; swamp, black; island, blue; forest, green; and plains, white. During the game, you will be capable put 1 land onto the load up each time it's your turn, and every one of these land can yield 1 mana a turn, so you will require a lot of grounds. It is up to you which colors you like and which ones you need to make a deck with. You can join the same number of shadings as you need, yet by and by I stay with a few. A few shadings go preferred, with some over others. Regularly, it relies upon the square that you're playing with. To keep it straightforward, in the first place, you may decide to have just 1 tone in your deck, albeit most introduction packs start you off with 2. In the event that you notice the image of there's a 6 and 2 red mana images, this is the projecting expense of that animal. This implies it will cost you 2 red mana and 6 mana of any tone to project. Chapter 4. Card Types. There are a couple of various kinds of cards in Magic. Land. As you learned in the mana segment, land are what gives you mana to project spells and animals. Land cards don't cost any mana to project. Grounds are lasting importance. They stay on the war zone except if eliminated or annihilated, and must be utilized on your turn. 1 land card can be set down each turn. To utilize a land card and get mana, you need to tap the card. This implies you turn the card sideways. It stays sideways until your next turn, where you untap the entirety of your cards in the event that they were tapped last go. Animal, next card type, are the establishments of your deck. Animals are what you will principally use to assault your adversary and safeguard yourself. Every animal has a certain mana cost that you should utilize land cards to pay for. Animals are additionally perpetual. After projecting an animal onto the front line, you should tap them for that turn. This is called gathering infection. A few animals have capacities that supersede bringing infection, yet most don't. On the base right of an animal card, there are 2 numbers isolated by a cut. The number before the slice is the force of the animal. It tells how much harm an animal arrangements. The number after the cut is its strength. That discloses to you how much harm should be managed to it to obliterate it. On your turn, you can utilize undiscovered animals to assault your rival, or you can leave it undiscovered so they can protect you against your adversary's animals. At the point when you block an assault with your animal on your adversary's turn, you don't tap that animal for your life focuses to go down. Your rivals should assault you straightforwardly, and in the event that you block her animals with your own animals, then it is more enthusiastically for her to bargain harm to you. Here is a tip, however. Take a gander at your life focuses as an asset to be utilized to win the fight. Antiquities artifacts, lasting cards that go about as otherworldly things and hardware. Antiquities necessitate that you pay to project them onto the war zone. Then you should pay to utilize one of their capacities. You can utilize their capacities the same number of times as you need. A sort of antiquity called gear has a capacity that allows you to append it to an animal, typically giving that animal an increase in some sort. Charm enchantments are a lot of like antiques, aside from that they don't have an expense to utilize their capacities. Yet you can normally utilize the capacity just a single time. Atmospheres are a sort of charm that you append to an animal, so essentially like a gear. Planeswalker. Planeswalkers are amazing cards that truly give you a lift in the game. Planeswalkers are not quite the same as animals, and any remaining cards, they run on faithfulness focuses. A Planeswalker begins with a specific measure of focuses and 3 to 4 capacities. Every capacity either adds or deducts devotion focuses. The capacities that add point are generally feeble, however nice assaults or activities, while the capacities that deduct focuses are groundbreaking and can totally wreck your rival. Witchcraft sorcery cards resemble wizardry spells cast by you against the adversary or the rival's animals. Sorceries must be projected on your turn, and after you have completed what the card advises you to do, you put it into your burial ground. Moments instants as sorceries are cards that whenever cast are placed into your burial ground. Not at all like divination cards. Moments can be utilized at whenever during the game, even on your rival's turn. This makes moments extremely basic cards for your deck and your strategy. These are largely the card types in Magic. One significant standard to note in sorcery is that you can just have 4 of one card in your deck. For instance, I can have 4 Lightning Strike cards, yet not 5. This standard is for all cards aside from essential land cards. You may have the same number of fundamental grounds as you need. Chapter 5. Playing the Game. Whenever you have assembled your deck and have somebody to play with, you can begin your first round of Magic the Gathering. In the event that you are confounded about the zones of the field, there is an image over that diagrams the territories. Face your rival. Mix your deck all together at that point, set it on the table, and have your adversary cut your deck. You will likewise do likewise to his deck. Conclude who will go first, in at any rate you need. As in the pick above, set your deck to one side, out of your way, and pick the main 7 cards from it. This is your hand. From now into the foreseeable future, each turn, you draw 1 card from the highest point of your library. toward the start of that turn and add it to your hand. 7 cards is the most extreme measure of cards you're permitted to have toward the finish of your turn. I'll clarify later. At whatever point you utilize a card, dispose of a card, or an animal kicks the bucket, put it into your memorial park face up. Your memorial park, it a heap underneath your deck, and can't be drawn from. Toward the start of a game, every player has 20 life focuses, which can go up or down, contingent upon what occurs. In the event that your life focuses arrive at 0, at that point, your rival wins. You can bargain harm to your rival utilizing animals or spells. In the event that you are going first, look in your grasp for any land card. On the off chance that you have some spot 1 down in your play zone closer to you, as to leave space for your animal cards. Next, in the event that you have anything in your grasp that you can play that cost distinctly on mana, you would now be able to put that down. Simply recall, whether it's an animal, turn it sideways for the main turn, as calling Affliction produces results. Very little ordinarily occurs on the main turn for you and your adversary, yet having a decent hand when you start the game is instrumental to winning over the long haul. From here on out, you should begin focusing on the stages in each turn, starting with your second turn in the game. At the point when your rival completes his/her transform, you go into your beginning stage. This is the place where you complete 3 things. 1. Untap the entirety of your cards on the off chance that they were tapped. 2. This is the progression where if your cards have any capacities that trigger each turn, they trigger now. 3. The draw step. Draw 1 card from your library and add it to your hand. You need to attract this progression regardless of whether you, as of now, have 7 cards in your grasp. Next is the first main phase. In this stage, first you need to put down 1 mana card from your hand in the event that you have one. Next, take a gander at your deck and check whether there are any cards you can put down which you can bear with the mana on the table. No doubt you will put battle cards down in this progression, yet anything goes. Battle phase is a 5-stage eliminate where you fight it with your rival. Step 1. Beginning. This is the place where you have a last opportunity to put cards that you should use in fight. Step 2. Attack step. This is the place where you state what animals you need to assault your adversary with. You can't pick where to assault with your cards. The entirety of your assaults are centered around your rival, except if obstructed. Step 3. Blocking step. This progression is the place where your rival can pick whether to hinder your animal assaults with his/her own animals, or to allow the assaults to hit him/her. Your rival can pick which animal squares which of your aggressors. However, blockers should be undiscovered. Step 4. Battle harm step. This progression is the place where the harm hits possible you or you animals. You can play moments before the harm hits in the event that you decide. Step 5. End step. You and your adversary can utilize spells and capacities in this progression on the off chance that you need. After the end stage comes the second fundamental stage. This is equivalent to the principal primary stage. However, it is all the more deliberately shrewd to play animals and different permanents in this progression. End stage. In this stage, toward the start, every one of your cards with a capacity that triggers toward the end of your turn will be set off at this point. After that, you should glance through your hand once more in the event that you have in excess of 7 cards. Discard a card until you have 7. Those are on the whole the stages to play enchantment. Simply continue to experience these means until one individual is at 0 life. That's it. Indeed, that wraps up this guide. Much obliged for staying until the end. I trust you delighted in it. Enchantment is at last a game. Make an effort not to get frantic on the off chance that you're free, or brag on the off chance that you win. Wizardry is about regard to your kindred player. Much obliged to you, to individuals and sites that instructed me to play this game. Additionally, simply a disclaimer, I do not own the rights to any of these photos. They were completely found on the web. Presently, go get yourself a few cards and get out there. Try not to be hesitant to go to your neighborhood comic book shop and play Friday Night Sorcery with the regulars. They were all new eventually. Have a great time. Chapter 6. Anatomy of a Card. Whenever you have a few cards, the subsequent stage is strolling through a straightforward magic card and realizing what everything implies. In the model over, the Shivan Dragon is an animal card of the dragon type. In the upper right corner, you see the card's mana cost. The 2 red images mean you need to have, in any event, 2 mountain mana, notwithstanding 4 mana of any tone to play this card. On the off chance that you have enough mana to pay this cost, you can spend the required mana and spot it on the front line. Recall that animals have Calling Affliction when they initially enter the front line, which means they can't assault until next turn, except if they the flurry capacity. However, they can protect against approaching assaults. More on this later. The Shivan Dragon's force and strength is situated on the base right and is a 5/5. This implies when you assault the Shivan Dragon bargains 5 harm, and it likewise takes 5 harm to thump its sturdiness to 0, hence murdering Shivan Dragon and eliminating it from the game. You additionally advantage from all capacities recorded in the card capacity area. For this situation, Shivan Dragon gains +1/+0 for each mountain you spend on this capacity per turn. While different animals and card types have various impacts once played, they all follow this equivalent essential mana buy framework. The lone cards that work somewhat extraordinary are Planeswalkers. In this model, a Planeswalker included in Magic's in 2019's Ravnica Allegiance Planeswalker set. The mana cost actually works a lot of like Shivan Dragon. However, you should play a woods and a mountain this time. Be that as it may, a Planeswalker basically goes about as another player, so when an adversary assaults you, the person should indicate in the event that they are assaulting you or your gathered Planeswalker. When you pay the mana cost, Domri, your Planeswalker, enters the war zone with 4 tokens or dependability counters, base right. Once per turn, you can browse one of Domri's capacities. However, you need to have enough counters to pay for the impact. While the main capacity awards you more counters, the second and third capacities remove counters, yet are all the more impressive impacts. To utilize these capacities, you need to spend turns adding counters to Domri, so you can utilize the card to its maximum capacity. However, these counters likewise speak to Domri's sturdiness, so if your rival assaults Domri and the card endures harm, you lose 1 counter for each purpose of harm supported. This adds an element of technique to the game where your animals and spells need to ensure you and your Planeswalker. The end.